Welcome to the New Consciousness Now podcast. This episode originally aired as a video on our New Consciousness Now YouTube channel. Our goal is to be a conduit for the emerging consciousness on the planet and to anchor that consciousness more solidly in the present moment for our listeners. Your hosts are Gail Wolf and Dr. Jay Eaker. Let's get into it.
And we are on.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, folks.
Welcome to New Consciousness Now.
New Consciousness Now.
Gail Wolf.
In the house.
And
Dr. Jay Eaker.
Hello.
Hello, hello. Respectively in Illinois and Colorado.
Yep. Lafayette,
Yay.
Colorado, close to Boulder.
Lafayette, Colorado. I'm a little town called Stockton.
Hey, sweetie.
Not very many people have heard of Stockton.
Sweetie. Hey, sweetie. You can't
And
do
we
this.
have-
Love, you can't do this. This is my dog.
We have a visitor.
All right.
We have a visitor who loves her father.
I didn't necessarily want her to. I don't want her on the broadcast
Yeah.
to the world necessarily.
Yeah. You know what we can do?
Not that,
Let's
I don't want
tell
her
you
to
what.
be broadcast to the 3 people
Well-
that are watching this.
Well, there'll be more, I think. So. Let's do this, Jay.
Yeah.
Let's like reintroduce ourselves, and we can just edit that whole part out so that she's not on there.
Oh.
So she's
Okay.
not at all on the recording.
Okay. Sure.
And we are live.
Hey, folks.
Hey, folks,
Welcome to New Consciousness Now. This is Dr. Jay Eaker and Gail Wolf
in the house,
coming at you potentially live.
right now.
Are we live on something? No.
We're live. Well, no, we're not live on anything right now. Well,
right.
mostly because my phone
Right.
on, whatever,
Right.
technical
Yeah,
things.
I got it.
We're not live. We are
Right.
coming at you recorded.
That's right. I'm in
Not yet recorded.
Lafayette, Colorado, close to Boulder.
Oh, myself, I'm in Stockton, Illinois. Small
Stockton,
town.
Illinois.
Stockton, Illinois. It's where the cows outnumber the people. It's actually true.
Yeah, I'm sure.
It's actually true.
Yeah,
So,
cool.
interesting statistic.
Well,
Well, we've got an interesting topic for the day.
yeah, lay it out.
Interesting topic indeed. So, Jay and I were talking about things as we do from time to time. And, one of the hot topics going on right now is in the era of COVID in 2020 is that, there are a lot of people that are very pro wearing a mask and a lot of people who are anti wearing a mask. And we seem to have this huge division in the population, and both are very adamant about their beliefs, about how they feel about their beliefs. And so we're talking about really not how different they are, but more how similar they are. And really, the I wouldn't really call it a debate. The debate so far has people have only been mentioning that there's this scientific fact for this, or there's this conspiracy theory for that, or there's, what have you, these officials that are saying these things that both sides will quote and state. But Jay and I were talking and exact same place, but just have different things that they're focusing on.
Right.
You want to elaborate on that, Jay?
I kind of lost you there for a sec. Can you say that again?
Yeah, no problem.
What am I elaborating on?
What am I talking about again? Now we're talking about the maskers and the non-maskers,
Right,
and both sides are afraid of something,
Sure.
basically.
There's
And
fear on both sides, right?
there's fear on both sides, yeah. And
I guess, I noticed that just polarity all the time, all these sort of controversial topics. It seems like polarity kind of drives it. Like people have to feel compelled to choose a side. And you're right. I think there's fear on both sides. It seems like people, the mask thing, mask wearers, you know, afraid to catch it, afraid to pass it, afraid to pass it on to someone, to a loved one. Maybe they got, you know, older parents or kids or, you know, other people that they don't want to expose potentially. So there's fear there maybe. And then on this on the other, gosh, sorry.
Cough it up.
And then on the other
Hairball.
side, and then on the other side, I think people are like afraid to lose their freedom. Afraid it means something about, you know, their freedom being taken away. I think mostly. And to be honest, I kind of tend to be on that side. That's where my fear comes up a little bit, is on that end of things. But like you're talking about the, you know, like science or whatever, like I've kind of given up, you know, like when this started, I was right there with people sharing stuff on Facebook and posting graphs and everything. And it's just, I feel like I've given up though. It's kind of like, I don't know what's true anymore. One seems like one study, there's, you know, the mainstream or whatever saying that, that experts say masks help. They can help. But then there's all of these articles and all of this, there's studies and other things that people are posting saying they don't. So I've kind of, and since things are kind of like ramping up again, I've kind of like come to some level of acceptance. I'm like, well, looks like this is kind of the way it's going to be. So for the time being, I feel like I've kind of given up on pushing against any one side.
It's an interesting thing, because I've seen reports in science as well on both sides, you know, like the maskers are like, you know, here's this, you know, if you wear pants and you pee, you know, you're not going to be peeing on someone.
There's those memes.
There's those memes
with the guy wearing his underwear with his his penis hanging out.
So it's like, you know, if your penis is hanging out, you're probably going to be,
you know,
however that goes.
How do you think if your pants can't contain a fart, how are they gonna, you know, contain
I haven't seen that one. That's funny. So I haven't heard that one. That's pretty good. Oh my God. But then, you know, then there's other science like Dr. McCullough, for example. If you look on his website, he's saying
McCullough?
Mercola.
Oh, Dr. Mercola.
Mercola. MERCOLA.
Right. That's a name I haven't heard before.
Saying straight out, he says there is.
I was gonna say that's a name I haven't heard in a long time, but he's big in the alternative health world for a long time.
Yeah, he's been shut down out of the mainstream for a lot of years because I think he's come up with different diets that have healed cancer. He's done different things like that. And, you know, in our society, in our day and age, if you come out with something that goes against the pharmaceutical industry, you get shut down pretty quickly.
He's pretty big too.
And he's been one of those that he's been able to kind of stay in there and stay, you know, just below the mainstream. And he's one of these guys that, and this is just my personal bias here, is that I actually like and respect him because he's one of these guys that he'll find a study and he'll publish it or put it out there, advertise it and say, this is what I'm thinking. And a week or two later, he might find something else that's more compelling, that makes more sense. And he'll say, you know what, I actually think I made a mistake with that last one. This new one here actually lines up a lot more. And he'll change his mind, or he'll shift a little bit. And to me, I look at things like that and see someone that is sincerely trying to help, or sincerely trying to put something good out there. And not that pharmaceutical companies are totally nefarious. Maybe they are, but not that they totally are. We'll just try to stay somewhat PC here, but not that other experts aren't trying to help. But when you see an expert that locks onto one idea and just stays with it and hammers it, I question whether or not they're continuing to study, or if they've just found an idea and they just won't jump off of it. And so that's one of the reasons why I really like him. And he was saying, and he's got a study out now, and he's kind of gone back and forth with his mask thing even. But he's saying now that he's like, yeah, masks, there's actually no solid confirmed study that actually says they work. Scientifically, it's not proven, even though there are those who say that it is.
I wonder where that comes from.
Who do you believe?
The experts or whatever, the people driving this current thing seem to think that's the consensus, that somewhere masks do work. But
it's kind of like
something I was thinking of was like what about all the different things that people like? Masks work, but people are wearing, like, making masks out of their underwear. They're making masks out of their t-shirt. They're making, just a bandana. All different kinds of masks, which are all made differently. Seems like, I don't know. Seems like it would maybe behoove someone to do like studies. Does your underwear mask actually stop viruses?
Jay, I hadn't heard of that yet, but I'm really tempted to go out and buy a thong now and wear it on my face. I gotta tell you, I really am.
You run with that.
I might.
I look forward to seeing that.
Oh my God.
I might catch a glimpse, and then I probably won't look anymore.
Yeah, it might be just too scary. Oh my God, that's funny.
It's probably already been done. There's probably pictures
on
Facebook with someone with a thong on their face.
Dear God, I'm sure. I'm sure.
Yeah. So, to sort of like, with when people are all about, I don't know, the other polarity is like people that are like science. They say, they claim science. I believe in science. That's why I believe in vaccines. That's why I believe in the medical experts are saying, the mainstream medical experts are saying this, and so I believe in science. And as opposed to, so other people who are questioning all that stuff are anti-science, or but yeah, I just feel like that's kind of like ridiculous, because science is it's more complicated than that.
It's way more complicated than that.
It's political, and
there's so many
money,
things,
and there's money involved, and it just,
well, that's the big one here. And the money, to me, is where a lot of what's being said loses its credibility. And here's where I'm going with this is, you start looking at having $100 million given to a company to come up with a vaccine. I don't know about you, but I've been in business before, and when someone gives me money to produce something, and if I don't produce it, there's going to be a lot of disappointment, and that's like, that doesn't look good to me. These companies that get all this money, and if they come back and say, gosh, I don't know if this is possible, or we're not finding what we need, or whatever it is, I mean, there's a possibility there for failure. And there, in fact, there's a huge documentary about this very thing. When the space shuttle blew up in 1984 that the shuttle blew up, or 87?
I don't remember.
Whatever year that was.
Discovery or Discover?
Yeah, I
with
remember,
Krista McAuliffe on it.
Krista McAuliffe. That's right. The school teacher from Florida.
Uh-huh.
But there's a huge documentary on that where there was big money being given to this corporation who was installing the valves
Right.
on
The O-rings.
the rings, and one of them was untested and hadn't been run through the trials, but they're like, we have this launch date, we have to do this anyway, and they're like, it's not tested, and so it didn't go through the procedures. They put it out there anyway, and kaboom.
Right.
And so this is the kind of thing that, and this is where we're talking about millions of human lives, by the way, not just a
Right.
space shuttle that's got a couple $1 million pumped into it. Like, this is human lives.
Right.
So, you know, and looking at some of the shenanigans that are going on, and we haven't talked about this yet, Jay, but over the last week, I have heard 2 separate stories of friends that have gotten random phone calls telling them that they tested positive for COVID when they've never gone in for a test. Yeah.
Call from who?
So, well, the one gal actually did go in for a test, put her name on a sheet, and was told that they were out of tests. Go home and wait for a little while. We'll give you a call when we have more of them in. And a week later, she got some sort of letter saying, "Hey, you tested positive." And she's like, "I never went in for I never actually went in for a test.
I didn't take the test.
I never took the test."
Huh.
And the other gal has never gone in at all to even put her name on anything, and got a phone call about it. And I don't know who she got that phone call from. I didn't get those details, but there, and I actually just saw a meme on Facebook, or a story on Facebook, that went out in some sort of publication somewhere, of why are people getting phone calls and letters saying that they're testing positive when they've never gone in for a test.
You mean that's something
this is something else
happening?
Yeah. I know. And then you see these increased numbers and so forth. And it's like, how do you believe that?
Right.
How do you believe that? And then the deeper question is, why is someone wanting this? The question of why comes up. Why would you want to have the numbers be higher?
Right.
And that's where there's something else going on here.
Right.
There's something else happening.
I mean, I imagine it could just be that they're in a quickly sort of thrown together system like this. It seems likely that there would be, lots of mistakes.
Yeah. I could see that.
So, I mean, there's just that. There naturally would be mistakes.
Yeah, it's true.
But
that's true.
That's
true.
I mean, I'm kind of like I'm trying to sort of step back and watch both
sides,
because I can certainly get caught up, because I certainly lean towards getting caught up in that someone is fucking with us, and they they are
that's where I get stuck to, actually,
and that they are inflating the numbers for political
some sort of gain
on their behalf, which I would think would be political, having something to do with the upcoming
election.
Well,
that's something else. There's the election that's going on. There's also, they're trying to do away with money. That's one of the other big things that's been going on. Is
all of a sudden people are saying they're not accepting change, or they don't give out change.
No change.
I went somewhere and
that's what they're saying. Is
like, we'll take your cash,
shortage,
but we won't give you change. I'm like, what?
Yep. That's it. So they're trying to go with a cashless society, saying that cash spreads COVID, which I thought for a while. Like, as soon as this first started coming out, I thought, oh, this is one of the next things that they're going to go after.
Is that why they're doing that? Because if you touch it and everything, you're...
That's what they're saying, but how, I mean, this is going back to the fuckery. How much of that is actually true, and how much of it is this whatever? Anyway, so there's also the cashless society that seems like is emerging from this,
right?
Or is creating this maybe, the desire for a cashless society, creating the COVID fear. There's also the other part about all these missing children that are going on, where there's a lot of very powerful and famous people
Pedophilia thing
stand to lose a lot if this continues to gain traction.
Right.
There's also the other issue. God, what was the other thing that's going on right now? Oh, the Hillary Clinton investigations are going on for Pizzagate, which ties directly into the pizzaphilia. Pizzagate.
Pizzaphilia.
Pizzaphilia. Oh my God.
I get off on pizza.
I just can't stop touching pizza. I just love it. I'll just leave that alone. And then I also believe Barack Obama is being investigated right now for something as well. There's some sort of trial going on with him as well. And so there's all of these things that are happening at
there was
this
the
time.
Bill Gates vaccine thing.
Bill Gates vaccine thing.
And things,
my brother-in-law, and this is so interesting, and I will not say his name, and I could go down this road too much, but he's in the military. I won't say what wing, but he's in the military. A person in my family.
Okay.
Is in the military.
I thought you'd said sorry.
Oh, my mother-in-law. Yeah, my mother-in-law. And when he saw something big going on in the news, like some major issue that everyone's talking about, the first thing he would do is go, "We're bombing someone. What's going on?" And he would actually go and look at, I believe it was the Israeli news source or some Middle Eastern news source, and they would be talking about what's going on and where with 100% accuracy. And that's when he would find out, oh, okay, we're bombing Syria, or we're doing this or we're doing that. But that's where he would find out about it, rather than finding out about through the chain of command or our news. But so there's always like, there's this like set up a distraction because this is what's going on over here.
I see.
Sort of scenario playing out.
Right.
And he after a while he got to where it was like he just knew if some story was blowing up, then it was a distraction from something else that was happening.
Something else that was blowing up.
Something else that was blowing up. People were dying.
Right.
And the United States was killing them.
Right.
So.
Yep. I'm conflicted.
Yeah.
That's the road that I tend to go down.
Yeah.
I know all the things that you're talking about, and I could talk about all those things. And I don't know, I feel like I've been taking it's kind of like trying to stand back and just like, look, what's, is that just kind of watch more?
Yes.
As opposed to thinking I know what's going on. But I'm suspicious of all those things that you're talking about.
You're summing this up perfectly. I've been doing the same thing, Jay. I've been stepping back and just really stepping back and trying to sit in the middle and not go too much down this, we're getting fucked with analogy, though that's where I get stuck. And I've been looking at like, how can we start having conversations between each other, between the sides, between all the polarities? How can we, stop, anti-masking and masking? Or how would I see the other day? How can we stop being mask holes? How can we stop being mask holes? And
that's funny. That's a good one.
Yeah, I thought it was funny too. How can we start having conversations about this where we can meet in the middle and have some sort of degree of understanding between the two sides or between all the different polarities that are going on? And to me, it's always, if for that to be possible, you got to find the common ground between people in order to do that. And because ultimately we, as a human being, we always have the same values. Like was it Maslow's hierarchy of needs or whatever? It's like whatever, shelter and love and food and air and all these the things. But looking at where everybody's at right now,
right?
The maskers are afraid of a disease, afraid of infecting and whatever. The anti-maskers are afraid of a loss of civil liberties and freedom, and whatever else. And so the common ground here is that everybody's really afraid.
It's the fear,
of something.
Yeah.
Fear is the common ground right now. That everybody's afraid of something.
Right.
And if we can shift the conversation a little bit to include that commonality, my hope is that we can start talking about things a little bit differently.
Yeah.
Because to go totally down the road of totally no masks for anyone, I don't feel like is a safe idea either. There are too many people out there that believe so strongly that the mask is the way, and if I don't have a mask, I will get sick. And the others are like, if I wear a mask, I will be given this and this and this up, and that is not safe for me. I won't do it. I'm not going to give up my freedoms. And so that's not a good solution.
Right.
What is a solution that fits for everyone? What does that look like?
Well,
in my world, it's weed your own garden, and that's where I sit, and I'm really open to ideas on this because.
What does that mean? Weed your own garden?
Well, it's like
make your own choices.
Make your own choices and take care of yourself, and don't expect everyone to handle the same problem in the same manner as you do. In other words, if you're scared of catching the virus, stay home, sequester the way they're asking you to, put your mask on, do your thing, and let everybody else do their thing.
Yeah, that doesn't work for the people who want to wear masks, though. I mean, because it's like we're all in this together. Just like vaccines, they're saying those are probably the same people who would say, who would get upset about people who say, I'm not going to take a vaccine. Like if your vaccines are supposed to work, well, then why do you need me to take a vaccine? But there's the herd immunity thing. It only works if sort of everyone's kind of if everyone's toeing the line. And so, so the same with the masks, like it on some level, that's the idea. It kind of only works if everyone, they always say you're not doing it for yourself, you're doing it for others. So they, which is not a terrible concept to be doing, to be making a sacrifice, a small sacrifice for others. Maybe that might be something that us Americans a way that we could, learn, stretch a direction we could stretch a little bit.
That's something too, is I believe that's bullshit, that statement right there.
All righty.
And here's what I mean, and here's why. I don't mean to cut on you like that, Jay. But
I was trying to be diplomatic.
No. I'm talking about the American part.
Right.
There's a narrative out there that we as Americans are bad and selfish, and I think it's total fucking bullshit. And because to me, it's a shaming notion that our media and our government is putting out there to say that somehow we are naughty and we're wrong and we're bad because we're not
Right.
falling in line. And in truth,
Right.
it is human nature. There are rebels and people who don't go with the system in every sector of this planet. It's like they are everywhere. And that narrative that we're Americans and we're bad, I don't buy it.
Right.
I believe that to me it's human nature
There's
to
cultures.
have
There's cultures that are more, that lean more in that direction, like Japanese. Like I saw this thing
sure.
on NPR where this guy was reporting, and he was at this train station. He says, like, the train's let out, and he's like, okay, I'm looking at like 10,000 people here, and like not one of these people is not wearing a mask. And I guess they have a culture that's more, leans
Oh,
towards
sure.
they're more of a whole, like they're doing things for others.
As a hive.
Right. Like if people get sick, they will wear a mask. That in Japan, like they'll wear a mask because they don't want to spread it to others,
Sure.
So, but
And I would ask any one of those people, like, and this goes down a little bit different of a rabbit hole. How fulfilled or how happy are those people in their lives, and how well do they know themselves?
Mm-hmm.
An unexpressed person often doesn't, know themselves that well because they've never really delved into their being to have, whatever.
Yeah, we might be comparing apples to oranges as far as that goes.
I think you might be right, Jay.
I mean,
you might be right.
Like a Japanese culture, like being fulfilled might mean something totally different than what it means, than what it means for us.
Yeah.
So that might be apples and oranges, but
that's true. All right, I'll give you that.
But I know I'm not. I get what you're saying. Say more.
Yeah.
Did I take the wind out of your sails?
I guess I just don't like that narrative. No, you made a good point. And you're right. There are cultures out there that do toe the line much better than Americans do. But to me, that's a great point. I agree with you.
I mean, yeah, we don't. That's not what we do. We don't toe the line here. I mean, we
don't toe the line. I mean, for crying out loud, we're founded by rebels.
Right.
We were founded by rebels that left, like, England. Like, essentially, if you didn't fit in England, they kicked you out and sent you to America, or they sent you to fucking Australia.
Right.
And because that's what the snobby English do.
Right.
You don't fit here. We're going to send you away. And
I can see where one might think or say that kind of like what's happening is kind of looks like that kind of rule. Lots of people could say that, or the people who probably are anti-mask and are worried that their freedoms are being taken away probably feel like what's happening is kind of leaning in that direction of that kind of royal thing where, oh, you there? I lost you. Lost your picture.
Sorry, buddy.
Like, I don't know, like, I guess, we didn't used to be taxed. I don't know, there's a lot of changes that are in this current system that are kind of smell like what we left in England, and people are afraid that it's kind of going back in that direction.
Going back to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is a great segue into kind of where I think this would be interesting to go, because we're talking about future events. And or at least that's where Jay and I talked about taking this is moving in the direction of being almost like England, or being like some of these other countries where there's more of an authoritarian rule. And in the United States, we've really prided ourselves as land of the free, home of the brave, and all this, all this and that. And, are we really? And looking at what's happening now, it really, really goes in the other direction of these things. It really goes, this is not freedom. This is not freedom of expression. This is not, what we're looking at doing here. And to me, and this is where I think there's some fuckery going on, is, I believe that the system is manipulating the population into going in that direction of having less freedom through the use of fear and through some different measures like that.
Mm-hmm.
But again, that's going on that one side of the fence. But so there's just a different intuitive sense that I've had over the last week over where we're all going with all of this is the fear and moving in the direction of more of an authoritarian rule, a more of a strong-handed government, or a more, I don't know what you would call it, non-freedom, or whatever you would say.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a governmental expert, whether it's socialism or communism or whateverism.
What are the words that they use for that?
The words that they use for that sort of stuff. And we're not a democracy, we're a socialist republic, or whatever those things are. I don't, whatever.
I'm trying to come up with a word, but I can't come up with it.
Yeah. And so is that just this intuitive sense that I've had, is that we're going to go further and further and further down this rabbit hole where there's actually more of a military presence almost in the air and in our homes, where it's really more of a stronger rule takes over to a certain extent. And I don't know what this looks like, but it's like I just see everything turning black for a little while. Like we may lose the freedom to make posts on Facebook, or to post things on social media. Different, like a blackout almost.
I hear talk of that.
A blackout.
Why did I hear talk of that somewhere, that there might be some media?
Yeah,
blackout.
Some sort of blackout. And I've heard of the same thing, and for the most part, I've heard that and been like, yeah, well, we'll see. Yeah, I don't know if I quite believe that, whatever else. But then in the last little while, it's kind of the way my intuition's been. It's been like, wow, that really feels like it might happen. Like that feels pretty darn legit.
In a way, that would be kind of fitting. Like all of the, you could say on some level, like someone's in control of this and it's being controlled. But like your guides, stuff that we channeled said, look, no human is in control. Actually, this is just a thing that's happening. And, there's a way in which like, it's just sort of fitting. Like it seems to be the COVID thing. Everything is just kind of pushing everyone's buttons. There's COVID, there's race, the race topic.
Oh, the race. Yeah. I haven't talked about that. Yeah.
There's all these buttons that are getting pushed. And like, can you imagine if all of a sudden phone, like, all things,
everything goes
internet,
dead,
everything went down? Can you imagine what I mean, talk about the fear, like talk about the thing that would bring people's shadow to the surface, mine included.
Yeah. Same here, man.
Because I'm certainly addicted to stuff for sure.
Oh my God. Yeah.
But can you imagine how that would bring that fear, that shadow to the surface? Oh my gosh.
Okay. So,
and then what would happen? People would they'd have to be like,
stew and
wonder. They'd get together and they'd be like, what's going on?
That's true.
They'd have to like actually connect with each other. What's going on?
Well, face to face, you want us to talk.
Right.
But actually, I never thought about it this way. But you're right, Jay.
That would be kind of like the last. That seems fitting.
It totally fitting. And this kind of goes into something that Donnie Epstein had said a while back, is that, one of our current major addictions right now is information. Is we are so addicted to information based on our phone, our computer, on online, the radio, the newspaper, all these places.
Yeah.
The information is just like, it's so fast. Like it's all right these things, everything's happening. So everyone's just like right up on everything. Everyone knows what's going on everywhere.
Yeah, what if
like
all
the
of a
whole
sudden
COVID thing,
that
and
stopped?
and I was like everyone knows kind of what's going on. Like I know they're doing this, I know they're doing that.
Right.
And I speculate this,
Can you imagine like
speculate
how just
that, and
back in the
all of
day,
a sudden it just goes black.
can you imagine back in the day? Can you imagine like how it used to
Because
be?
I
Like
did,
people didn't know, you don't know what's happening 5 miles away.
yeah.
You don't know what's happening, unless you can hear it. You don't know
Did
what's
you
happening.
hear? Hey, did you hear? There's a cabin going in over the pass over there.
Yeah, you don't know what's going on
I
unless you
don't
go see
know.
it,
Are you sure
unless
that's
someone
not a
tells you about it.
bear moving through the woods?
Yeah. I mean, if you were like you were doing your homestead thing or whatever, and like California in Nebraska or something, and California falls into the ocean, like you would
Who
know.
knew?
You wouldn't know.
I don't know. I heard there was like some 500 grizzly bear and some moose that died out there in California. Yeah, but who would know, right? Who would know?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Who would know?
But now we see it. We can see it live.
Yeah.
You could, like if California fell into the ocean, you might be able to see that live.
Somebody would be recording the
Somebody would
whole
be
thing
recording that now.
blasting down.
Yes.
Yeah, that would be fascinating to, to see a blackout like that. It would really bring everything up. But the thing though that and this again, this is just such a strong intuitive sense. It about makes me nauseous, to be honest. Is there's this period of blackness, and then there starts to be little sparks of light that come out, like little, like truth starts to percolate.
Mm-hmm.
Things shift from that point forward. It's almost like there's a certain process where they talk, and it's in shamanism is the most popular place where this is seen or practiced or believed in, and it is in the ultimate death. Death through rebirth, a death and rebirth, and it is where your ego or your belief in the fear, your belief in untruth, essentially has its prime moment, where that fear, that anguish, that devastation, or whatever it is that is so up for you, pervades your entire being with such intensity for a short period of time that it's just absolutely unfathomable, and you completely surrender to it.
Right.
100% surrender to it and just allow it.
Ego death, yes.
Absolute, yeah. And then you emerge on the other side in a rebirth. Right. You emerge differently. It's literally the phoenix rising from the ashes in the truest form. And so, if the
internet went down, it might do it.
Yeah, it might do it. Might do it. Yeah, boy, the internet goes down, that would well, man, I remember being in Baja when I was living down there. Gosh, it wasn't last year, it was 2 years ago now. Time is flying. The power would go out. No internet, no water, no telephone, no power. Like, it was nothing. There was nothing. And down there it would go out and it would stay out because the cell towers were knocked out. The grids are different down there. And you'd look out, you'd go up on a rooftop and look out, and the whole, like, where town used to be would just be black. Just black. All you saw were the stars and the moon. That would be it.
I've heard about that in different places, like that, rolling power outages.
Yeah.
Power just
everything
blinks out in places.
There's
we
no
got
communication.
We got a lot of privilege around here. If the power went out for we're like, gosh, the power's been out for 2 minutes now.
Shit.
What's going on?
What's going on? Go get the flashlights. Light some candles up.
Oh, it's
And
on.
you,
Never mind.
never mind. But it was like having those experiences was weird because, like, there's someone 2 miles away that you're used to talking to or texting with all the time, and you're like, wow, I don't even know how they're doing right now. And there's this part of you that's like, well, I'll just reach out to them, and you're like, you can't.
Yep.
Yeah, freak.
Mm-hmm.
Well, hey, we're probably getting up on time.
Should we do it?
Let's drop in. We'll see who comes through. If it's see who shows up today. If it's gonna be the same old or what.
I kind of imagine. Seems like that's the trend.
Yeah.
The Lizard King.
The Lizard King Garhalo set.
Garhalo set.
I am Garhalo set. More and more, I am allowed to be here in this space that is created interdimensionally through the DNA of this being. Every time I am here, I am also upgrading and awakening the dormant areas of his DNA. As he reaches out to others, it awakens their DNA and expands out like a spark of a light. There are others around your planet who are endeavoring into the same thing, and they use different words for it and see themselves as experiencing different things. He calls it channeling and is using it to bring forward information that he is curious about and wants to know about and would like to use for the service of humankind. Others are experiencing it in their own way and using the energy in the ways that they feel drawn to use it for. Some of these energies are being used in business. Some of these energies are being used in creation of legislature. Some of these energetically. Seeds are being sown in every single one of these beings who have agreed to do this. It is not just I who am here with this, but I have many brothers and sisters who are here as well, who are helping with this. It is happening everywhere, as it was so divinely prophesied in various areas of your literature. However, different names and different words are used to describe what is happening at this time. Some of you call us angels, some of you call us guides, some of you call us spirits. And there's question among many of you whether or not we have been incarnated in physical form or not. And the answer is yes and no. When we were a part of your planet and when we were sowing the seeds of original consciousness on your planet, your planet was in a dimensional form, in a different type of consciousness, and the thereof was different. And so when you feel our vibration and try to weigh it against the way the earth feels, there is a discord. And so many say, angels have never been incarnated. We would say that you are correct. However, you need to look at what you are labeling as an angel. And we say that last tidbit. I say that last tidbit in order to plant some seeds for some people who are hearing this in some different places, to help them open their eyes and open their perceptions and their thoughts to some of the things that are happening for them. We will say one last thing in regards to this and move on to our main message. And what we would like to say is continue to explore what you like doing and continue to explore what you're good at. Continue to honor the things that you are interested in and move in those directions with as much of your being as you can bring to them. Because indeed, by following your truest of hearts is the way to channel the highest elements of your being, regardless of what it is you are tapped into. The expression of what you love is always going to be the highest form of service you can provide. Quite simple. Determining what that is for you as an individual is a little bit more challenging, because that is a journey to find out who and what you are, whittling it down and getting it narrowed into a secular, specific activity that really resonates with who you are. Enjoy that process. It calls many of you forward at this time. But again, we're not here to talk about that, because there is a question in the air and we will speak to it now. I am making room for some of the other energies that he channels to enter the space that will help with the prediction process, or the process of seeing potentials. We'll begin by speaking of the process and then go into what is being seen, what we see. To begin, in this time, it is virtually impossible to predict things with a large degree of accuracy. The energies on the planet at this time are such that things move and meld and shift very quickly because human consciousness is becoming more fluid and more vibrant. It is not as stagnant, and therefore it moves in many directions at the same time instead of moving along straight lines. In the older days, when human consciousness would move in a straight line, it was quite easy to literally predict the future and say that this would happen and be correct, because human consciousness did not waver and was very straight and linear. But your consciousness is becoming quantum now, and so it resides in many places all at the same time, and so it is your awareness that determines what happens rather than your thoughts. Where you put your awareness is of a crucial matter, and your thoughts are becoming more and more secondary. Understand as well that awareness is more of a soul attribute and thoughts is more of a mind attribute. Your soul attributes are coming into effect far more. Therefore, when we say that we will give you potentials for the future, we mean we are giving you potentials for the future, and we are not making predictions. At this time, you have many different circles of unfinished business that are happening. There are many things that are playing out all at the same time that are simultaneously leaking out into reality. There is a saying on your planet that says there are two things which will not remain hidden for long, one of which is the sun, the other of which is the truth. You are in a time of the parting clouds. You have been living in a time of darkness for quite a while, and there has been a lot of cloud cover over your sun. And the clouds are parting, and so too is the veil that covers the truth that hides beneath. And as the truth emerges and as the sun emerges, you are not liking what you see, and there is a tremendous amount of fear about what is coming to the surface and what is coming out. For many on the planet at this time, those who have been studying the less popular belief systems out there, those who have been paying attention to the less popular news sources, those who have been looking into the fringe ways of thinking, your deepest fears are beginning to emerge and are coming into fruition. Do not concern yourselves too deeply with this. There are those of you who have a belief system in your minds and in your hearts about what you think about manifests. What you put your awareness on manifests. And while this is true, at this time, it is also helping. You see, within your population, a number of people who are afraid, but they are also not seeing the truth that is emerging. They will not look at the truth that is emerging. They will not look at or consider such things. Your entire dialogue leading up to this moment, the dialogue that transpired today, was all about this. those who are looking and seeing, and those who are avoiding, those who are enjoying the mirage, and those who are actually drinking the silty water. Oh. Excuse his reaction to what we're showing him. It's a lot to behold for a person to look at such things when your orientation is more positive. To take someone who sees things through a bright light and to show them a darkness tends to be shocking. We had to show him the truth so his mind could interpret what we need to say. There will need to be some integration as his emotional system catches up with this information. And so today's channeling, the information that comes forward will not necessarily be complete. However, as he integrates the mental, emotional energies and images we're giving him, it will come forward at another time. Oh. Oh, man. Okay. There we go. You're heading into a period of despair. Much challenge lies within the paths of many of you. Much challenge lies much challenge lies in those who do not want to see the underbelly of humanity. What we're showing him is the reality that so many will face when everything reveals itself and becomes known as truth. You see, those of you, as we mentioned earlier on in this transmission, have been studying the fringe news stories and been studying the fringe belief systems about what's really happening on your planet. Therefore, your minds and your hearts are somewhat ready to behold the truth that emerges. However, the vast majority of your population does not ascribe to such beliefs or ways of seeing things. It is their hands that will need to be held by those of you who have been seeing these things all along. They will be shocked and dismayed. For many, the world will come crashing down. Dreams will be destroyed. Hearts will be broken. So much so that there are certain lives who will expire their physical form because of the shock of what comes forward. There are those of you, though, who are ready. Those of you who have been working with your energies, working with your emotions, working to remain grounded. Those of you who have been doing this work, those of you who have been preparing your minds, those of you who have not been putting your hands in the your heads in the sand, will certainly be those who lead the others. And this will be a different type of leadership, in that the leadership which emerges upon your planet in the future, after this dark time has passed, will be a leadership that truly, truly looks at what is best for the masses. It is a leadership that will take all life into consideration, and it will be the main foundation of those leaders' agenda is all life. And when we say all life, we mean all life on planet Earth, no exceptions. The days of being separate from your plants, from your animals, from your pets, from your children, from your partners, from your families, and from yourselves is beginning to shift and will change and will be different. Those who emerge as the leaders after this dark time will know and value these connections above all else. There will still be ideas that emerge from those who have been able to maintain the separate belief systems. However, those are the beliefs that will be falling away. There still will be resistance to the new ship on the planet, but that resistance will be futile compared to the knowing that exists within those who have accepted the truth. And that truth is something that will feed throughout the leaders and throughout the many in a vibration that you all have been working to align yourselves with. It is that vibration of oneness, that one vibration that aligns with the plants, the animals, the pets, the partners, the families, and yourselves. Be willing to trust. Be willing to trust. Be willing to step forward bravely when you feel drawn to. Every person who is meant to be a leader and step forward in the times now and in the times coming is doing so because there's something that won't allow them not to. When that calling comes, it is a matter of just following the breadcrumbs that are in front of you and taking one step at a time. There is a destiny that has been forged by many of you at this time and in the future times. That is going to be the easiest thing you've ever done because it is the most aligned thing you've ever done. And it is something that you have dictated from the knowing of the ages to be embedded within the consciousness of humanity during this time, which will, of course, set a course for humanity to become one once again. We have spoken of the energy of the circle many times through this one. There is always an inspiration and intention that begins, and that inspiration and intention goes out into creation and experiences the full circumference and the full gamut of that creation until it returns to its originating point. We are, I am that originating point. We came to planet Earth to sow the seeds of benevolent consciousness, the original point of planet Earth, when planet Earth was neutral and had no orientation. And we are at the time now where that circle is coming to a completion. Be willing to accept all that you see, experience all that you witness, and you will move with the most grace through doing such. Do you have any questions at this time?
I have to admit, in your presence, this seems sort of like a trivial question, but would it be useful to, how would it be useful to like stockpile food and take measures to sort of like protect our loved ones during this time?
You are on a trajectory where that is not a necessity. There have been timelines and trajectories that were created at different points in time where that was going to be a possibility. However, there is a level of grace on this planet that is eliminating and removing that potentiality from your reality. If you wish to avoid crowds of people, plant your own gardens and have your stockpiles, but you will have access to food. There are places that will have shortages. Your question comes from, will my family be safe and should I stockpile for my family? But we wish to address the masses with this as well, is that there are places in your world, in your country, where there are many, many people living in the same place. They will have a greater challenge than those in the sparsely populated areas, because it is harder to stockpile the food in those places. Your world operates on information and communication. When that breaks down, all things break down. if you are in a populated area, be wise with your provisions. You also have time. You have time before this emerges. There will still be food. It will be rationed. Is there more you would like to ask about this?
Do you foresee a time when communications go down, internet and telephone and such?
There is a strong likelihood of this. There's also a necessity in this. You have in your linear time, at this point in time, given the trajectory and the potentials that exist right now in this moment, you have about 2 years or less before such an event manifests. You are at about 60%, a 60% chance of that happening at this time, which gives it a strong likelihood, but not a guarantee. If it jumps about another 15%, you are looking at a guarantee. There are still some wild cards in the works. There are still some things that may avert this potentiality from happening. So much depends on your next election. So much depends on who you put into that office. And so much depends on how certain cases play out and who decides to step forward and who decides to keep quiet. These are the things that will affect how this plays out. Do you have more questions?
I mean, it begs the question, can you say who would be the best for us to be put in office?
You do not want a change of the guard at this time. You do not want a change of the guard at this time. Understand there are things that are happening behind the scenes that are not so seen at all. There are ways in which this plays out that do not look pretty on the surface, but shine brightly beneath. If you leave your office the way it is, you have a lower potential of having this darkness. However, you have many forces at this time that do not want this. You have many forces right now of darkness on all sides, and your darkness is even fighting with your own with darkness. That is the nature of darkness, is it fights itself. The light always knows where it's going. Darkness does not. Sometimes the best you can hope for is for one darkness to win over another. So that way the light can come through with the greatest of likelihoods of what comes out. One more element of this is that there are things that will remain buried if there is a changing of the guard at this time. And these things must not be buried. And if they do remain buried, they will come out in other ways that are less desirable. It is much better to have things on the table than beneath. Trust this. You want to root during this time when deciding who to back and who to support. You want to cheer on and back those who are willing to speak the truth and bring the truth forward at all costs, no matter what they do for policy or against policy. The key element of the window of this time you are in is the exposure of truth, and the better job that you do at exposing truth during this particular window of time, the better off you will all be. The willingness to look and see and hear the ugliness of the truth that has been hidden for so long, the better off you will all be in the long run. To have things buried at this time is akin to having a sliver that will need to fester and pus and be removed in a more painful manner than if you just face the pain up front and remove it. Are there more questions at this time?
That seems clear enough. Thanks so much. If you have anything to say in closing, feel free.
We are so honored to be in your presence. Over here, we are in awe at what you've done and what you're doing. I myself and we ourselves have never been through what you are going through. It is why we will never be able to fully incarnate again upon earth, because we are not as complete as you, as what you've become. We can only be a piece of the whole. And that was our great sacrifice for the planet. As one day, it will be your great sacrifice to the planet when you yourselves surrender that which you are to what you become. You never truly leave a planet once you've been there and been through the cycles of life. You will always be an earthling. We are in awe and in deep gratitude. We will have more at another time. Thank you so much. Wow. Dude. What a roller coaster.
Mm. Why's that?
God, it's like they're just getting more intense all the time.
When you say they, you mean
Like they took me right. Yeah, like they it. You know, he mentioned it right out of the gate. He's like, yeah, I'm integrating more and more, like open up my DNA more, and like there's like more and more every time. It's like I feel more of him here. It's like, whoa, holy cow. And then when he started showing like the images of the people and what people were going to go through, holy balls. It's like
these sort of physical images or feeling sense, or both?
Both. It was like showing flashes of kids chained to walls. It was showing flashes of the fear that people go through. It like that have not been looking at anything, not following any news stories, just basically going with the narrative that's out there that, hey, everything's fine, just gotta do this and this and trust
mainstream
these things and everything's gonna be great. Basically mainstream. And was really saying like these are the people that are going to need the support, the people that are just hook, line, and sinker into what's being the narrative. Like these are the people that are really going to need the help, because they're the ones that are going to have the hard time going, oh my God, how could I, like just the sheer disbelief and shock.
Yeah.
Just the shock. And they did not didn't go into how it comes out, what that looks like. But just like really gave me a sense of how dark it would be for them. Where there's like basically there's a number of us who've been looking at the stuff for a while going, well, that's interesting. I wonder. And then kind of going, I think that might be going on. Like there's no. I need to process that. That was intense.
Said more would sort of, as you integrate that, more would it'll be more clear later. Sounds like.
Yeah. Boy, that was quite a load. Oh. God, in that last piece, that like the last like 2 minutes of that, when he was talking about their sacrifice,
Mm-hmm.
it was showing like, yeah, they're the angels, and kind of like the archetypes that we've got, like Michael and Raphael, and the different, like there's like 72 of them or something. I don't know. But that in that first, this was interesting because it didn't come out verbally, but this is what they're showing me is as the words are coming is that that the original benevolent reptilians on the planet, that there were basically the 72 archetypes, angelic archetypes, I think there's 72, came from the 72 basic divine principles that were within that benevolent reptilian race. And that the angels, like that's basically our angels. Those are our angels. And they are a part of us. They are within us. They're like we don't come back. We are a part of you now. And basically what we evolve into now, when we hit our benevolence, we basically become that. We will evolve as well. And we will become, essentially, we will meld and be the angels at some point for the next, whatever that is. But anyway, hey, I got to get running here.
All right.
So I think we're way over time, but
that was
all
some good stuff.
Yeah, good stuff for sure. So
thanks, Gail, for making yourself available for that.
Yeah, thanks for being a bitch for spirit.
Yeah.
I'll be bitch's spirit, a spirit's bitch. I mean, why not laugh about it, right?
Yeah.
Why not have some fun with it?
It looks like that sometimes. Looks like
it sure does, man. Oh man. Well, cool. Good times, Jay.
All right, Gail. Have a good
thanks
time.
for being a part of this. It's a good time.
Thanks, guys,
thanks
for
everyone.
watching.
Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.